Hey everyone, we are live. It is the Thursday Night Forum. Introductions, Tony up top and Gary. Welcome.
Hello.
Alonso and Stan the Man joining us tonight down below. So listen, we didn't have a midweek game. We got 7 days off, probably a good thing after losing our last two games, whether it be in unfortunate circumstances or not. So I thought it'd be a good idea to take stock of the season. We're almost 2/3 the way through our league program. Two more games will be 2/3 the way through Premier League matches. So we're running out of games, and we want to take stock of where we are right now. Uh, do we trust the process? Well, a lot has gone on in the last 18 months under Arteta's charge. So let's get right into it. I think I'm going to start off with Gary. He's been sharpening his pen all evening, right, Gary? Because I might have the most back and forth with you, Gary. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be an organic podcast, and jump in the chats and let us know what you're thinking about Arteta and the process. So, Gary, take it away.
So, do I trust the process? Let me think here. I am still on the fence as to whether I trust it because I don't know if it's actually. I'm still like, is this Arteta's plan? If it is, then it's a good one, but it's only been recently that we've seen it. So I'm still on the fence. What is it? I'm not sure how to describe it because it changes. It seems it's been changing gradually, and maybe this is it. But I'm hoping so. Trust the process. I don't. I don't like the whole concept of the process. I guess I just rather him try to get the best out of what he's got, and if that's the process, then I'll take it. But if you've got a kind of a cookie cutter and you try to fit, take what we have and then fit it in there, it's not going to work because we're not that type of team. We're not going to make those type of changes that any manager that comes in is going to get everything they want. So, hopefully he can adjust as the time, as the players and the anything happens, he can deal with it. And being a coach for only a year plus, I think he's got a big challenge in front of him. So, do I trust the process? I don't know. One, I don't know what it is, and two, I don't think we're going to find out for a while. I don't know how he can't have a process after being an assistant for a couple of years and then being a manager for one. So it's going to change as he moves along and gets more mature in his game. So I think what we've seen since he got here has changed dramatically, right? So I don't even think he knows, and he shouldn't. I don't think he should know. So
he's Arteta's a young coach, and now he's been made a manager, Stan. And definition of the process is a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular goal. And the first thing is the word trust, Stan. So Arsenal fans, we've been waiting for 17 years now, since 2004, for another league title to come along. So trust has to be earned as well, Stan.
It does. I think when I look at Mikel Arteta so far, his tenure, I look at the on-the-pitch stuff first of all, and he's managed to tighten up our defence. You have to say that towards the end of the Wenger era and some of the Emery era, we had a really shaky defence. Some of the people that we brought in and some of the windows over the past 6 years have been questionable. Our first Liechtensteiner out there. Do you know what I mean? What was all that about? There's been some real questionable buys at the back, and even as most recent as someone like Kolasinac, who just, we had high hopes for someone like him. What was it we used to call him when he first started? The tank. The tank. Basically by the end of it, he was like swapping out the T and putting in the letter W. It was that bad. The guy was like stinking up the place. But looking at the defense now, looking at our defense now, it seems that I think we're quite secure. We look quite secure when it comes to defending. The next part of it, you have to look at the midfield, and I think over the last few weeks, we've seen glimpses now that the midfield is beginning to take shape, and that's specifically because of, putting ESR in there. We've got Saka in there now, who's looking really comfortable. Saka just again, for the second month in a row, was awarded the Arsenal Player of the Month, 2 goals and assists over the last month. We've got other options that come in and look bright, like Martinelli as well. We've got Partey now, but he's obviously just picked up another injury. But it seems that the midfield as well is beginning to take shape. The only part that seems to be misfiring is the attack. The sharp end is where we seem to still not have a clear picture of what's going to happen there. Are we going to progress with Lacazette? Is Aubameyang eventually going to take over that spot? Is Aubameyang going to stay on the left? Are we going to ease Martinelli in there? We've got question marks over Eddie Nketiah. We've got a question mark over Florian Balogun. So it seems that he's just maybe got that end part to try and tweak, because we're starting to look fairly good on the other parts of the pitch. So I think he's progressed. I think he's improved us on the pitch. Now I look at the other part of it, though. I look at the off-pitch part of it, the man management part of it, and I look at certain instances. I look at William Saliba, and I have to say that he gets a 0. Some of his man management has been very, very questionable in my eyes. There seems to be, he seems to sort of like ruffle people's feathers a little bit. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but someone like someone like Torreira, I thought, Mikel Arteta could have made to feel at home. We had all these, reports that when he, one of the key things that he's able to do is improve players. But someone like Torreira, I felt he could have maybe done a little bit more with the way that William Saliba's been handled. And you could even say Guendouzi as well. So the man management part, I think he's got a little bit more to learn and to improve in those areas. But this is a guy that's never done this before. So it's, there's a lot of learning on the job happening.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, Stan, he could learn his trade somewhere else, but we may not get, revolving doors and all of that. Clubs don't have the opportunity or the luxury to go and get Arteta after he's learned after another few years. It may not happen. So I think the club is learning along with the manager. The players are learning along with the manager, and they all have to grow together. Want to give a shout out to Glenn Kitely, Gail, and Naughty Boy 99 and Stefan as well. So thanks for joining us, boys. Really appreciate it. Tony, the first part of that is trust. I mean, I'm gonna ask again about trust, because the Arsenal fans, we're slow to trust because we've been in decline for the last number of years, probably best part of a decade.
Yeah, it's hard to trust since we've been going downhill since probably 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And to me, you still got to break it down. Do you trust the club, what they're doing now, or do you trust in Arteta and his process? From what I've seen with Arteta, I really just don't trust him. I think in the midfield, Stan was saying we've improved, but it wasn't because of his choices, it's because injuries forced his hand. And for the club, I think we've made some good behind the doors deals. I think it'd be good if we get Overmars in. I'd really trust what the team would do if we get Overmars in, help develop the youth and all the stuff that would bring along.
I think you need to look at it in its entirety. The whole tenure that he's been at the club, Gary. 18 months now, he had to take stock of the playing staff, understand all of that, what was going on, and basically lift the confidence of the club as well.
Yeah, I think he I felt like he may have been feeling his way around in terms of the first year he was here, and I think was lucky enough to actually come away with a trophy at the end of that. So I think that was, he was able to get just enough out of his team to be able to go on essentially what I think is like a 3-4 game run in the FA Cup and get and actually win it. If we were going through that same run this season, as we've already seen, we can't do it. So, and we should be getting better and not getting worse. So I felt like, I think this is kind of they always say that sometimes it's going to get worse before it gets better. And the first year was kind of a feeling out period for Arteta. And now he's going to start to hopefully grow, but with that's going to be growing. I keep saying growing pains, but he's growing into this job. Should he have been given a manager role? Probably not. If this were a really well-run team, Arteta wouldn't have needed to be a manager because they would have had a structure already in place, and he could have just handled the coaching bit. Maybe he had some input into it, but if you go back to when, I think a lot of the older fans, if they go back to when Arsenal was, running along smoothly, a young coach could have come in because the structure might have been better than at that point, and then you wouldn't lose a beat because all they're doing is worrying about what's happening on the field and not everything else that goes into the job. I think he was given that role, I think, a little too prematurely, asked him to do too much, and the play on the field is going to suffer for that to some degree. I mean, I think part of that also is that, the people sitting next to him on the bench, I mean, I don't know if they're pulling their weight. That doesn't seem like it to me because there are things that I thought we would have seen better come out of the team as far as what they have there, and we're not seeing improvements.
You mean the coaches around them, Gary?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like, to some degree, I feel like he's like I've said before, I think he's sitting around alone a little, by himself, and needed that. But I'm hoping what I've seen over since December, this is kind of what he wants to do, and will push to, and he can actually, get the board to look at this and go, yeah, that's what we want. We like that 5 or 6 game run that we had. The games looked really well, and then towards the end of that, we saw over the last 2 games, we've seen, 2 halves where the team had a formula that could work. We never finished off the job because we couldn't get the goals in, but the structure looked good. What we saw on the field looked actually promising. And if they were able to continue to do that, at some point the goals will go in, I hope. If not, then they're going to have to find somebody out there who can actually put the ball in the net, right? So, this is a slow process, and that's
with every window, it is a slow process, and with every window, we're going to have to improve, and we're going to have to start getting our transfer strategy correct and have more hits than misses, as such. Gail here said, I think the mentality of the team is way more of a concern than the football aspect of it. Every setback we get, the mentality gets whipped out, heads dropped. Is Arteta good enough to address or fix that, Stan? I think you're mute there, buddy.
I think some of the players that he's picking now, if we go 1-0 behind, some of the players that we have in the team now, they're willing to roll their sleeves up and try and get a goal back. Whereas there are other people in the team who aren't getting picked so much now. We can't rely on them for that, And some of these are senior players as well, right? We can't really rely on them for that. So some of it's a little bit of a happy accident for Mikel, because I think, they were talking about loaning ESR out at the beginning of the season, and thank God that didn't happen. We probably would have been in. I always remind me of that season when we loaned out Callum Chambers to Fulham, and then we got some really bad injuries, and we were really short at the back. We could have done with him. So I'm kind of glad that ESR turned out that he didn't go on loan, and he's managed to get himself into the squad.
I mean, if you think about that, everything that they wanted to do, they didn't do it the way they had planned, and so far it kind of worked out for them. Yeah. Right? They wanted the ESR gone, and he didn't go. He comes in, and now he's showing us. They could have, they should have sold a couple of players. They didn't, and then they wasted that. So they kind of done everything wrong essentially, and somehow been able to come out on the other side and not look as bad as they could have. Is that luck or is that a process, right?
I think when we're talking about Mikel Arteta's first 18 months, we also have to take into effect that we have to take in COVID into effect as well, because it's really changed the game. I honestly believe that some of the results on the way football is being played at the moment is different when the stadium is empty. You know,
Yeah, the emotion is not there, Stan, and the players feed off that emotion, and
yeah,
it's sanitized football. It's
yeah.
sanitized football.
Yeah,
We're
I
getting
mean,
football, I'll tell you, but
it
it's
made
still,
it easier for the younger kids, right?
we're not getting the real, we're not getting like the full, we're not getting the full product as it should be, and that's influencing the results slightly as well. But you know, this is Mikel Arteta. He actually caught COVID as well, so there's been a lot to deal with, you know, and it's been something that managers or football clubs were dealing with for the first time. They didn't know what the protocols were going to be and what they were going to do. So the finances side of it as well has been really hit, no match day. So you have to put all of these things into the pot when you think about Mikel Arteta. And as well, you can't forget someone like Frank Lampard. He actually had more managerial experience than Mikel Arteta, because at least he'd had a season down in Derby. You know, Mikel Arteta never even had that. So I'm of the opinion, and the same opinion that I had at the beginning of the season. I was 50-50 on him being appointed. I think it's a big experiment. It's a big gamble. But there is a side of me that likes a ballsy gamble.
Yeah.
You know, I never knew anything about Arsene Wenger when he came in as a manager. I was like, "Who's this guy? Never heard of him."
Arsene Wenger, yeah.
I do like a bit of a ballsy gamble, and I'm still backing him. I'm not Arteta in, and I'm not Arteta out. I just back the manager because he's the Arsenal manager, and I don't want a revolving door. I don't want it to end up like after when Ferguson left at Man United. This manager, that manager, this manager, that manager, ripping the team up, starting again. I want to see us settle. And even if Mikel Arteta might not have been my first choice, he is the manager now. So I want it to work out. I don't want him to be gone just after the summer. And then we're going to get in now. And this guy comes in and he has different ideas, different team that he wants to build. And now we're trusting a different process and we're in limbo again. I want to see some bedrock. You know, I want to see a foundation of a team, and then be able to sit back and actually recognise what I'm looking at and say, okay, this is what Arsenal is now. This is how we play our game. But if we're always in flux and between managers and that, we're never going to really see anything solid, because by the time players get used to it, someone else comes in.
Yeah, and we've seen some flashes of that throughout the season. We've seen a good half, minus the last 2 minutes, most recently against Wolverhampton Wanderers. We've had some good flowing football in the month of January, scored a lot of goals. But I think we have to go back all the way, and we're going to go back to the start. But the start of this season, Mikel Arteta, on the back of winning the FA Cup, and we can get into that a little bit as well during this podcast. But on the back of it, he had some credit in the bank for me and for most Arsenal fans, I think. He did engineer a very, very decrepit squad, rehabilitated some of those players, got them playing, and was able to get through Manchester City in the semi-final and Chelsea in the final to win the FA Cup, largely based on Aubameyang's prolific scoring last season. It's fallen off a cliff a little bit, so there's a lot of mitigating circumstances to this season. I think we've been well documented that we're disappointed that our progress this season is kind of halted because Arteta was reluctant to introduce the young players, and that didn't happen until Boxing Day. That Chelsea game when Emile Smith-Rowe came in, introduced the creativity that we were missing in the team. Well, let's not forget as well, Arteta did start out trying to fix us at the back, and as Stan had said, we have had some terrible defenders, some terrible central defenders down through the years, and now we've bought pretty well in Gabriel Magalhaes. He's come in, I actually pronounced that pretty well. He's come in, done really, really well for the back four. Rob Holding is what I would call a second choice defender, but he's actually done quite well. And, you know, there's still work to be done. I think we need to find that other right-sided central defender. Well, let's not forget, we started off with a 3-4-3, kind of an evolutionary way of using the squad, 3-4-3, three at the back, which kind of helped us to get results, Tony, for the early part of the season. And, you know, whether you like the pace of what's happened or not, I actually dislike the pace of it. I would have liked things to happen quicker. We had a very, very fallow part of November and December. with, I think, 10 games, we didn't get a win in those 10 games. Loss after loss after loss. We thought Arteta was going to be getting sacked. But, we had to transition from 3 at the back, Tony, to actually 4 at the back. And now we're seeing the transition from getting used to those players getting used to playing with 4 at the back as well, and having an extra body in midfield.
Yeah, they're getting. Whose volume is so loud?
Yours.
Not mine. Feedback.
You're getting some feedback.
Yep. Anyway, I think our formations have been dynamic to begin with, so it's going to be much of a transition going to a back 4 because we're playing with a back 4 at times when we had the back 3. I think it's always been Arteta's preference to have a back 4. I don't like the pairing of Willian and Luis. I like Gabriel, and I think Mari's will work.
Yeah, we're yet to see Pablo Mari be matched with Gabriel. But
in practice this week, so hopefully we see it this weekend.
Gary, have you been impatient with this season, the pace of it? I've been kind of impatient with how Arteta and as Stan has said, man management and being reluctant to use what us supporters would feel are the better players and introduce some of the younger players, especially Emile Smith-Rowe.
Yeah, I think that, by the time the new season started, he would have had a good picture as to what kind of players he had and what they can and cannot do. And that's kind of what I thought. I think he had enough time to figure that out. Especially with the fact that there was like that 3-month break. I know he spent some of that time kind of recovering and all of that, but once that was all said, once he was hopefully recovered from that, the next step, I always thought, he would take some of that time to figure out what kind of team he's got and go from there, and then know what to do come summer, right? Go into the summer with a plan, and the first thing you look at is you don't even have the depth on this team. So I figured that was going to be one of the big things they were going to do is improve the depth one way or the other, either in-house or out. I thought Saliba would be part of that. It turned out it wasn't part of their plan, at all, which seemed surprising based on, the way he's playing. That's the Saliba that we wanted to play. He didn't need to be a starter, but he definitely needed to be able to be a squad player that can come off the bench and give you 20, 30 minutes at a trot and then go into other, matches that are, like any of the cup games and give you something there as well. So that's kind of what I was expecting to see, from him. I don't think we saw that. I thought we saw basically a team that just did not have the right structure in place and things did not happen the way they should have, with the way that they were handling. So yeah, there are little things that we've seen, at least from the start of the season, that you would think you would learn from and grow with and do better the next time that a similar situation came up. And I think we're not seeing that in certain cases. Like, when is he going to make that? I think somebody may have mentioned it. When is he going to make that sub at halftime when whatever he's planned to do doesn't work? And we see that consistently, right? We've seen that consistently in right now. We are seeing it where it seems he's got a plan, and if it's worked in the first half of games, but at some point you have to see things aren't working your way. You need to switch things up, and he hasn't been willing to make that change, right? And sometimes it's not his fault. Sometimes it's just the way the players are going, and they're having a bad day. And you can hopefully see that from your players. You've been with them every day for a while now. So if he doesn't see it, then who does? Who would? So I think there's a lot, and that's maybe because he's overwhelmed, with all that he has to do.
Stan. So Stan, first 6 months he takes over, roughly just over a year ago. it was all about understanding the players, their traits, and working with existing players. And he got the best out of what he could. He got the best he could out of those players. Got us an FA Cup, and I know we were talking about at the time. The club said, if we win the FA Cup, we can do a little something in the transfer window. Well, we did okay. We went out and got Gabriel, and we got Partey. We activated that release clause, and so this season really has been about the rebuild has really just started this season.
Yeah. Until we get to the summer, we're in a little bit of limbo. I think where the rebuild is. I mean, you know, we've got players that are on loan that we don't know if we're going to keep them. You know, Martin Odegaard, for example.
Tony, you want to take that?
Amateur,
Freaking amateurs.
Do you know what I mean? You got to give me some good tools to work with here, right? Come on.
I know. What kind
I
of
think
place
it's
are you
called,
running here?
Yeah.
This
His phone doesn't
Dan.
even have a mute on it, so you know. Come on.
I don't think we're laughing at Alonso. We can hear every cup and plate that's being like smashed in the background there, right? Coming to me next. Right, just
I've muted him and all, Stan.
Good lad. Right now, so where were we? What was we talking about? You have to refresh my memory. I've got
Arsenal. I think it's about Arsenal. I don't know.
It was about Arteta. New season. He's starting from afresh. Last season was all about getting the best out of the established players.
Yeah. The thing that worries me about Arteta is, I think it might have been Gary that touched on it a few moments ago, is about the people that are around him. The one thing that I think that Mikel Arteta is missing is someone to reel him in every now and again. You need someone like that. You know, sometimes it's like, good idea. Oh, mate, maybe you want to go and take a sleep on that one. That sounds a bit wild. You want to buy Willian and give him 3 years? Let's not be hasty. Maybe have a night's sleep on it. We'll talk again in the morning. But he sounds like he's got people around him, like, you know, like when you see, like when you see some of these celebrities and that, and you see some of the garish outfits they're wearing, and you think to yourself, is there no one at home that said to you that you might want to take a look in the mirror before you leave the house? Because no one wants, you know, everyone just doesn't want to like say no or upset them. I kind of feel that Mikel has a little bit of that going on. That there's no one to kind of say, maybe we want to just maybe, you know, not wear those trousers with that jacket, Mikel. It's not gonna, you're not gonna do yourself any favors there. But I don't know. That's my one worry. And if someone that's so new as him, I think he needs that, because Edu's never really done this job before on a daily level, at club level. Vinay Vinkasham, who's now the general manager, has said many a times, don't blame me for any shit that goes on in the football side of it. I'm just signing contracts, mate. You know, it's Mikel and Edu do all the football stuff. That's what I heard. I heard passing the buck. So where is, you know, we've got the three main people there below the board are all holding each other's hands.
Yeah.
Yes. And I really hope that someone like that, Steve Round, who I would imagine what's his job title? Was he assistant head manager? Assistant coach? He's got to be the number 2 on the coaching side. Yeah. I just hope that he's able to maybe get some ideas across. A little bit like when Steve Bold was next to Wenger, and everyone needs to be like, is Steve Bold actually doing anything?
That's what I was going to say. The spirit of Steve Bold is still there beside the manager's seat on the sideline.
But you want to have someone. Who's not going to be a yes man, right? You want to have someone who can maybe, you know, help you second guess some of your decisions. And I don't know if he maybe has that around him. Maybe I'm wrong. The only one thing I do know is what is it? There was a big deal about us hiring a set piece coach. And now, every time we take a free kick and that, one of the players decides to go for a kick behind the wall. Like we can't see him. I'm like, what's that guy doing having a nap behind the wall? What's all that about? Do you know what I mean? Is this the way forward now? I mean, I'm not sure.
The same old Bellerin. You
know what they call that move? I reckon they call that move, if there's a name for it, that move is probably called the draft excluder. Right, lads. We've got a free kick. We're going to go for the draft excluder. Hector Bellerin goes and lies down behind the wall.
Yeah, and listen, we put Tony in the sin bin for a few minutes. We'll bring him back in a minute.
Okay.
He has to learn his lesson. God damn it! Right.
Good job, Ray. Good job.
Yeah, Alonso, we're 26 minutes in. You didn't get a word yet, so have your say about Arteta and trust. Do you trust the process?
As Sam said earlier about Stan said earlier about the defense, we had to kind of put it out there to where it has improved, and the midfield has finally come together. It's just a tad looks stale at times, and when we need a goal, it's still, you know what I mean? Like people are just always dribbling, and no shooting enough. So I think that's what we get stuck at. And I know Stan doesn't like Eddie and Nketiah, and it's very frustrating because at the beginning of the season there was hope that he would get more chances and more shots on net on goal, and it hadn't happened yet. And that's unfortunate because you think back to last year how Eddie Nketiah scored these timely goals, right? These goals that would hopefully turn to the next big thing, right? And it hadn't happened yet. So there's no future there, I don't think, with Eddie Nketiah. And with Martinelli, he's always been hurt, or Arteta's been too careful with him on the pitch. So, it's just, I think he's on the right track. Sometimes you wouldn't think he's on the right track as far as the selection goes, but sometimes his management is not all that there, And he puts in Willian, who to me is a player that shouldn't be playing at all. You know what I mean? And why he does that, I'm not so sure on why. Yeah. You had these Asian Chelseas at the club, like David Luiz, when you have Gabriel ready to go, and to me it's just crazy how it works out. You know what I'm saying? But there's potential there with Mauri and Gabriel. If they're more than capable of being left back at Arsenal, center back at Arsenal, and with the youngsters like Saka and Moses will make a difference. There's also potential there, and why he waited this long to do so. It's just really shocking to me that they could be successful early on this season. And we're not down this 10th place at the table. We should be at least 6 right now. But it is what it is. I have confidence in him, but sometimes it's just frustrating. Sometimes because he could do better, but with the time given, also, it's only been there a year and a half, and so we had to cut him some slack because he's still very new, and he didn't have the experience that Lampard did whenever he was at Derby County, right? So there's that as well. So I mean, we got to give him some kind of benefit of doubt, and hopefully he'll make things right. And he needs more time to succeed, I think, and I think that he did work hard. And it was a massive success by Aubameyang to win the FA Cup final, but we had to build on that. And I think we had to build on that, and we haven't built on that yet, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I have a feeling this podcast is a little bit of a slow burner, but it's going to burst into flames pretty soon here. So, Sam, welcome in.
Good evening, everybody.
Was the casket door locked on the outside and you couldn't get it?
Some of those virgins got loose, didn't I? To go around them up, didn't I?
Yeah, it is late there in Norway, so thank you for joining us in the middle of the night. We always appreciate it. Sam, Arteta, do you trust the process? And what we're seeing right now is, rightfully, I think Arsenal fans believe, and I kind of believe, we all believe we should be in a better position than where we are right now, 11th. We should be doing better than that. But with all that being said, is Arteta doing right? Is it more good than bad? Has there been mitigating circumstances?
Well, I mean, so we're at that point. We're at a big existential question right now, aren't we, with Arteta? Trust the process, etc.
And that really annoys. That phrase annoys a lot of people. The trust the process.
Yeah, because the thing is, you see, because It's very tough, isn't it? Because it's all about your expectations. What kind of expectations do you have? And this is a big thing, I think, with Arsenal fans. Is I think that we're sort of divided into two camps. We have the fans who they don't expect too much. They sort of realise that we're in a transitional phase. We've had a lot of problems post Wenger and everything that's been going on structurally at the club, from the top down, basically, behind the scenes and everything, the problems with, Raul, Gazidis, all of that's been going on that certainly hasn't helped the issue. There's that camp, and then there's the camp that sort of puts that aside and says, listen, we're Arsenal Football Club. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We should be, challenging on all fronts, no matter what. There's not really any excuses. We should be there or thereabouts, no matter what. So it's about that level of expectation, and it's very tough to gauge that, really, because on one hand, you have to be realistic, or you should try and be realistic. On the other hand, it's that, like I said, it's that level of expectation because of the club and who we are. So with Arteta, it's very, very difficult to sort of to navigate in those waters, because you sort of realise that there is something there with him. He does have a lot of good ideas. The way he talks and everything, what he says. The guy obviously is a smart guy and knows what he wants, and he knows a hell of a lot about football. Very promising guy. But it's about what. This is why I say it's about what you do actually. In practice, it's about the proof. Being in the pudding, basically. Yeah. So for me, we can't say. For me, we can't say there's progress. For me, that's what I'm saying. You can't say where we are now, even based on what Emery was doing. Statistically, Arteta is behind Emery. Our performances, where we are. The only thing we're better at is defensively. We've got a better defensive record now. We're better at the back, but pretty much everything else is not better. It's worse. So the progress is not really there, and this is where I think things still, it's a big issue, because are we going in the right direction? And right now we're not. For me, we're not. I'm not Arteta out, because I'm willing to give him this transfer window to get those players in, because a lot of the deadwood is now out. A lot of the the noise, a lot of the disturbing guys in the dressing room and everything off the field are now gone. So it's going to be interesting now to see who he actually brings in, to sort of shape that squad, get that squad going as he wants. And for me, then what it means is then there's no more excuses, because at the moment you still got these excuses here for Arteta. Oh well, he hasn't had his squad yet. There's been we had the issue with the deadwood, the players, blah blah, influencing factors. Well, now they're gone. Özil's gone, Socrates is gone, Mustafi's gone. Yep. All those influences, bad influences are gone. The bad eggs are gone. So now he gets his players in the summer. Edu and that team has to get their heads together now and get in the right players, get the recruitment right that we've struggled with for so many years, and with then his squad in his, what he wants for this football club, and for the way he wants to play, structurally, tactically, everything. Then next season, the start of next season, that's when we really, really have to look at where this club is going. And then he has no more excuses. So top four is a target for next season. We have to challenge the FA Cup, challenge in Europe. If we get into Europe, we might not even get into Europe at the moment, but if we are in Europe, challenge in Europe, challenge the FA Cup, and top four is a target in the league. That's it. Anything less than that is not good enough. and anything less than that means he shouldn't be able to continue beyond that next season. And one last thing, just to round this off.
Well, you'll get another go. It's not like it's your last day.
I just want to round this off. I know I've been blabbering on here a bit. I see Stan. He wants to run out the window soon. But anyway, I just see that. I just want to say that for me, even if we're doing the same just before Christmas as we were this season, if we're not doing anything and we're not performing and we're down halfway down and we're way off top four at the halfway point, basically, we've got to pull the trigger. We've got to be ruthless enough and say, sorry, this is not good enough. It's not working out, Mr. Arteta. Sorry, you're not good enough. Sorry. And then bring in finally say, okay, we need to bring in someone, a top name, a top marquee manager, and try and turn the ship around.
Yeah, I told you Gary would start warming up, so here we go. Good stuff, Sam. AD said, would you still keep him if we got 4 points or less in our next 7 games and we lost to Benfica? No, that would make his position untenable, as I would say. I love this comment. I know Gary did as well. Naughty Boy 99. I would sleep on my missus snoring in the bedroom. LOL. Not even joking.
You got a couple of options though, right? You got the elbow, and then you go back to sleep real quick, so they don't know what happened.
Have you ever done that, Gary?
Or no? Or you got the clap, the loud clap, and you go back to sleep. That
You've never done that either.
I was gonna joke and say you got a pillow, but that's not.
There was a third option.
You're a very bad man, Gary.
We're not that kind of show.
Good day to the assemble, Stan.
I was just going to say there is option 3 as well. What I usually do is, I don't do any of that pushing and that. I just get my phone out and I tape it, and then the next day, in the middle of the day when she's doing something, I just put my phone down on the table, play it, and just walk away. And you want to see her.
Oh, see, that's and you go back and you close your eyes and go to sleep the next night. Are you sure you want to do that?
I just like shaming her.
She must really love you.
If you ever need a trumpet for next match, I'll send my miss snoring sounds. Oh well.
What are they called in the World Cup? Vuvuzelas.
Vuvuzelas. Yeah.
It's like sleeping with a vuvuzela.
They would give headaches.
Yeah, I mean, 4 points out of 7 games. Is that 7 Premier League games or just the 2 included?
Yes. That would be untenable.
Yeah, no, that
unsustainable. All those words, Gary. Untenable, unsustainable.
Dog shit.
All the other
words. I mean, we're already on a 3-game skid right now. So we're talking about going on a 10-game skid. I don't think that would work. I don't think that would be good for him. Not at all. Yeah. I mean, the one thing that kind of worries me, or I would be concerned about, is would they make that change? Because I still don't feel like they've got somebody that would actually make that call. Who's the one firing Arteta right now?
Josh.
He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know the season's still going on. Does he?
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about the Cronkies. Stan, you ready? Okay, they're not football people. I think they'll admit that. But Josh does the best that he can. Yeah, I think he is enthusiastic. He does watch the games. We hear all the stuff from Josh. I'm not going to say be excited. We need to see the evidence on the field. But I do believe that the Cronkies do want the best on the field to get the results. And they have a track record of hiring younger coaches as well, as they have with the LA Rams. So it's something they obviously like doing, putting young management into high positions in their portfolios.
I mean, can I just say one thing on that before Stan goes? They hired probably one of the best offensive coordinators for the Rams. So Arteta is nowhere close to that He's nowhere close to being like the best up and coming assistant on a bench. He just was, he was just a coach with one of the best coaches in the world. That's all.
That's all. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah,
but if he was a coach, he was one of 3 or 4 coaches. He wasn't his number 2 or anything, like a real number 2. Nobody saw him as that, right?
You got to glean something from the man, though, right? If you're sitting next to one, as you just said, one of the best coaches in the world, only a fool would close his ears and not take anything in. You know what I mean? But I do get what you're saying about, the offensive coach and that. But I do think it's a bit dismissive to just wave off. It was only sitting next to, but especially as you said in the same sentence, one of the best coaches in the world. That must have put him in some good stead, right?
Have you seen some stuff that rubbed off on him from Pep?
Yeah, his dress sense is pretty smart. I mean,
well, see, if that's the first thing you're going to go to, then you answered my question.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, But something else as well. I mean, I have to disagree a little bit with Sam as well. I don't think that he has got rid of some of the deadwood. It's good. I mean, this is what I see. Is like he got rid of Ozil, and he replaced him with Willian, and you're like, another. What's he saying? Good, the bad, and the ugly. One bastard go out, one bastard go in. That's what it just felt like. It's just like, oh, why would you do that? And then when I hear, rumors,
yeah, love it.
I hear rumours of, we might be extending David Luiz's contract for another season. I'm like,
no.
It's just like if that happens, I can see my foot going through the TV. Something drastic, something that I'll regret. I'm gonna, it's gonna cost me money somewhere or somehow. I don't know, but things like that, and I'm just like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you set yourself up like that? Do you know what I mean? So,
I don't think that was the intention, was it? I don't think he knew when he bought Willian. I don't think he knew he was going to have one good game and that's it, just never fucking appear again.
Yeah,
Many will say the 3-year contract was the bigger.
Back to earlier, was there nobody in his camp, in his close circle, the coaches and all of those people? Per Mertesacker, was there not one person that put their arm around Mikel and said, "You really want to give him a 3-year contract, and how much?" There was no there was no one to kind of play devil's advocate. Do you know what I'm getting at? There was no one.
That's the only way we were going to get him, Stan. The offer him that extra year. That was the only way we were going to get him.
With $10 million signing on bonus and $32 million total.
Or was it a case that people did say that, people did put in their 2 penneth and maybe said maybe you want to sleep on that, but he was so arrogant he didn't listen to him because
he wanted Willian, didn't he? That was one of the things one of the players he wanted.
Yeah. So I think £1 million because a lot of people try and say, "Oh, that was a Raul signing or an Edu signing." No, as I understand it, Arteta was very, instrumental in bringing Willian into the club. So I just hope that he learns from that. It's an expensive.
Well, that's one of his mistakes. That's one of his mistakes, isn't it? Obviously,
very expensive one. Please don't make that again. By extending David Luiz's contract for another year, that would tell me that he's learned nothing from the Willian debacle.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have alarm bells going off if David Luiz is extended for another year. I would definitely have alarm bells going
off. That would
off.
be a very, very poor decision, exactly. And that would be something that would go against him as well. That would be something that you would say, listen, is this the guy we want going forwards? Like I said, there is a lot going against him. There is a lot there in that. You look at the pros and the cons. For me, the con column is outweighing the pro column at the moment. That's what I'm saying. But I'm willing to give him now summer.
You've got a pro column?
There's a few things there. Not many. There's a few, but the con column is a lot bigger than the pro column.
Lego hairs on the pro.
Is the pro column things that you think he did or he lucked into?
Lego hair.
Well, that's the thing. That he lucked it. Listen, we all know. I was one of the first people that said, let's not get carried away with Emile Smith-Rowe coming in and starting games, because that I said straight away he was forced into that with he had the injury situation and the COVID situation with Gabriel and Luiz at the same time, and it forced him into going to there was no way he could leave Emile Smith-Rowe out of the team at that time, so he had to bring him in. and it worked, and it clicked with Saka. And the one good thing, Arteta, you got to give him one good thing. You got to give him. Listen, I'm not trying to say Arteta in, like I'm an Arteta fan or anything like that. I'm just saying one good thing you do have to give him credit for is at that time he was forced into using Smith Rowe. Exactly. That is something people need to realise. So for me that doesn't give him credit. But what I will give him credit for is at that same time he then tried to say, okay, we'll put Saka out right and see how that works. And Saka out right was something that worked well together with Smith Rowe in the middle. And then all of a sudden we see now using Martinelli out on the left where he normally plays. That combination worked really, really well. And then also at the same time trying Pepe out left now to keep Saka out right has also been something that works quite well. I mean, Pepe still for me far, far from where he should be, but he's doing better now out left than where he was previously.
Yeah.
So those are little things in the right direction. But overall, our attacking play is not good enough. We're not creating enough. We're not scoring enough. Aubameyang, we've got a big issue with Aubameyang. What do we do with him now? That's a big issue. And there's, like I said, there's a lot more in the con column than there is in the pro column. And yes, you're right, Gary. He was forced into those things that started to work for us to start attacking and start winning games. He was forced into that change, but at least then he did stick with it. But at the same time, he did put Willian in when he could. Obviously, his mate, Willian's a mate of his. He loves using him. So that's something that's not very good. But yeah, there's not many. Yeah, you're right, Gary. There's not many things in that pro column at all. But we need to see now. We know this season now we're not going to get relegated. We're most likely not going to get into a Europa League position. The window is coming up. At the end of the season. I think he at least then you give him a chance to because that's what everyone's saying. Okay, let's give him a chance now to get those players in that he wants. Because or else, if we bring in someone else, if we bring in someone else, I'm not against that. But what you have to say, if we bring in someone else, the whole process starts again. They've got to come in and put their whole system in place, their backroom staff. They got to start shaping the squad in what they want because they're not going to go for the same as what Arteta's going for. They're going to, we're going to start again. So let's let Arteta, in inverted commas, finish his process now with this transfer window, and then we have to really, really scrutinise him. Like I said, in August when we start again. Yeah. We have to scrutinise him because then there's no more excuses. For me, the Arteta in crowd, to call them that, we like to call them that. You have no more excuses then. What excuses going to be? Oh, we have to wait another window. No, you've had your windows now, right? So that's it.
Dan, with everything that you've seen now, up to now, in the window that's just gone, we've moved a lot of players out, and for a lot of fans, that was the biggest part of the window, is to actually move on some of the players, whether you're cancelling contracts or not. Do you see development of the vision for the future of what the club needed to do? Do you see the club moving in the right circles, making the right shapes to be ready for next season? Do you see progress?
You asking?
Yeah. Yep.
Me?
You, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Can I answer the question you asked a moment ago about the Cronkies? Because you was asking about the Cronkies, right, and about the thoughts of the Cronkies.
Yeah.
And I might be one of those that might be in a minority that I think that they get a lot more flack than they deserve, personally. I honestly do. I mean, the biggest criticism that I see that's levelled against them is that they're not interested and they don't give out any money. But I'm sorry, I honestly don't read it that way. I think that since the Cronkies have been on the board or even have been the majority shareholder, I've never felt that we've been cap in hand in any of the transfer windows. The difference is that the people that have been in charge of spending those funds, I've done, and a lot of times done a real shit job at it. And the big one for me is what was it? The 75 million that's been that combines the transfer fee of Xhaka and Mustafi. I mean, you're basically saying that we bought a midfielder and a central defender. That's the quality that we got in for that amount. I'm sure that better scouts, a little bit of someone who's a little bit more canny could have brought in a better midfielder and a better central defender for the same amount of money. I really do. And there's other clubs out there that are maybe getting less money than we are, and they seem to be able to bring in players that you look at them and think, oh, I wouldn't mind a bit of that in Arsenal over at ours. Ours, he looks pretty nice as well. So for me, the Cronkies, I think they get a bit of a hard time. And all of this stuff about they never go to matches and all of that, I don't really care. I mean, in all the time Roman Abramovich, right, has been the owner of Chelsea, has anyone on this panel ever heard him utter a word? Does anyone know what his voice sounds like? Because I've never heard him speak. I actually believe he's a mute. I think he's actually a mute and he can't actually speak.
He's silent, Roman.
But the argument is, well, they're successful and all of that. Yeah, they are pretty successful, but they changed their manager more time than I changed my pants. And the owner side of it really doesn't bother me. I do think that they give us support. For me, it's who the management put in as the general manager. So if you look at Tottenham, for example, that would be Daniel Levy. Do you ever see the Tottenham owners? I don't. Never see them. Daniel Levy's the mouthpiece, right? So for me, I look at how our structure would mirror a team like that, and our general manager is that Vinay guy, and it just seems like everybody seems to like him because he's got a nice smile.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I don't see him. He doesn't seem to sound like he has the experience working at that level for a top football club. So I look at the appointments and that structure. But as for the owners, I think it's probably more Josh when you do hear anyone speak from the Cronkies, or you have to see a face or an interview. It's not going to be Stan. And funny enough, I saw there's a thing on Amazon Prime. It's about when they go behind the scenes of a football team for a season. They do it with American football teams, and they've done one season with the LA Rams. And at the breaking ground ceremony where they put the spade in to break ground for the construction, Stan Kroenke gave a little speech. And I remember thinking to myself, fuck me, that's the first time I've ever heard him actually speak. And he welled up and got really tearful about it, which made me laugh. But, I don't give a fuck about him being there and speaking and all of that. It really doesn't bother me at all. And I do think that they've been pretty good with the cash.
They've been good with the cash, but I don't think that's not the only thing that you need to do. You need to make sure that the people that are running your business are doing it well and your team is succeeding, because that's the only thing that continually makes you money, and that makes you a lot of money if you're in the top four or if you go to European League. So those are all money making things. So if it's, I mean, that right now is the issue, right? They are getting the money. People are spending it wrong. Do they have the right people now? I don't think they've made any significant changes yet. Right.
It's debatable, Gary. They have spent the money wrong, but are they spending it wrong this season? We got Partey, we got Gabriel in the door.
Well, that's the new team, right? The new team.
Tierney.
We're looking at the new team now. Yeah.
Is there evidence, Gary? Yeah. Is there evidence, Gary, that they're starting to spend the money correctly? I put it to you.
Well, Willian is the one. I guess
yeah, but one out of 5.
Out.
You're not going to get every transfer correct, right? So 1 out of 5 is not a bad ratio.
You don't spend 30 million on a player and then put them out on loan. If we bought a central defender, I'm talking about Saliba. If we bought in a central defender that had cost us 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million, maybe something like that, and I was the same age, you could say, okay, so they're looking at this one for the future. It's a bit rough around the edges. They're going to send him out on loan. But this guy's been an Arsenal player for almost 2 seasons, and he's never kicked a ball in angle for us. And he cost us, it didn't cost us for Arsenal. That's quite a lot of money, 30 million. So again, that's another example where the Cronky said, "What is it that you need? We want to get this. We want to bring in this guy from France. How much is it? 30 million. All right. Are you sure?
They put up the money.
Are you sure about this? Yeah, right. It is the dough then." And then now he hasn't played. He's not played for almost.
It's like the fee for Partey. That was just greenlit money, just greenlit by the Cronkies. That was money they just put up. Say, okay, let's do it. So they do put the money. You're dead right, Stan. I can see a lot of your points, and I will agree with you a lot there that they get more flack than what they deserve to get. I agree, but on the other hand, Stan, what you have to realise also, I think, somewhere where they're not doing things maybe the correct way is they're just. I mean, they've brought in the people previously who they thought could run the club. You know, they brought in Gazidis, they brought in Vinay, they brought in I can't remember his name now. The guy this Garlic's gonna he's gonna replace. And you know, we had Raul, and first we had Mislintat, then Raul, and you know, it's all these players. Sorry, not players. These people who they brought in to run the club. You know, they've sort of just said, okay, you guys run the club. We'll step back and we'll just do our thing, and you guys run the club. And I just don't think the oversight and the scrutiny of the job they've done has been good enough. I think they've been there's been too many mistakes made, and they haven't been ruthless enough to say, sorry, this what we're doing is not good enough. The results we see are not good enough. Where our trajectory, our so-called progress is not good enough, and been ruthless enough to change them. It wasn't until they brought in Tim Lewis when there was a space available on the board. They brought in Tim Lewis, who is actually, as we know, he has a background within auditing and accounting and everything. He came in, and one of the first things he did, to go through all the books and everything, make sure everything was on par. He saw Raul was basically, thieving money out the back door, and got Raul out, right?
Just in case any legal people are listening, allegedly
thieving money out the back door, right? Point in case being the Pepe deal, where we announced we were investigating that internally because of some. Something irregular or something, and all of a sudden the next day Raul's out the door, right? So, obviously there's been a lot going on there behind the scenes that has not been good. With the recruitment with Raul was very questionable. Before, with Gazidis as well, very questionable. So, we've had people in place there that, in my opinion, the Kroenke should have seen, listen, this is not working very well. Where's our progress? We should be challenging for things, not limping along, and they should have been more ruthless and said, right, we need to change this and get the right people in, and they should have gone, in my opinion, if they had real ambition to get Arsenal to the top again. This is where my issue has been. They should have gone and said, okay, who's the best director of football in the world? Let's try and get him. Let's try and get the best recruitment team in the world. Go to RB Leipzig or Borussia Dortmund or. I mean, I actually thought the one good step they did was getting Mislintat, because Mislintat, from his background within Borussia Dortmund in Germany, has been great. His recruitment has been great, and he brought in some good players for us.
Yeah, and, that didn't last long, Sam. So
no, because he had there's that whole when Raul came in, that conflict, and Raul said, "Listen, basically pushed Mislintat out the door, basically, in for lack of a better way of explaining it." And so we are. For me, the Kroenke should have got in the best team in the world instead of saying, okay, we're going to bring in an ex-Arsenal player who, he looks good on paper. Again, amateur. He's never been a director of football or a technical director. He's been a coordinator at a much lower level for the Brazilian team. And then they decide to bring in a manager who's never been a manager before. So. These are the things they're taking big risks, and because the Kroenke's greenlit that. The Kroenke's decided that's okay. They make the final decisions, on those things, on those top level recruitments, and that's for me. That's where the criticism needs to be. But overall, that saying they don't put in money and that they have absolutely no interest whatsoever. That's wrong. I agree with that. That is completely wrong.
I think what you're saying there about that part of it is spot on, because especially when you see someone that doesn't learn their lesson, right? They put all of their eggs into the Gazidis basket with the new regime when Wenger was going out. As soon as Ivan Gazidis got a better whiff of something obviously better over in Italy, he was gone. And rather than internally sit down in a committee and look for the best director of football. They went the cheap way of just going to their outgoing guy. Oh, before you leave, who would you put? Who would you put in? And he just looked around and go, yeah, stick Rowling, they'll be all right. And I've gone, all right, we'll do that then. We'll put Rowling. And now what have they done? It's not worked out with Row. And rather than again have a proper committee and look for the best person out there, they've looked in and again they've gone, well, Vinay seems like a nice chap. We'll just slide him into that position.
Well, like I got promotion.
Well, like I said,
you got promotion that wasn't deserved.
It doesn't look like a bit of an afterthought, right? It seems like a lazy way.
And then the thing with Mislintat, like Mislintat in there, well, where did he fit in? It's like, well, what's he doing there?
Let's spread it around a bit. Gary, and then I'm going to go to Alonso and Tony.
No, I was just saying, the money part isn't the problem. It's managing this team. They don't. If whoever is in charge of the marketing knew something about football, that's the person that should be running the company because they do a really good job with the marketing. They know exactly how to push Arsenal out there to the world, and that's the kind of thing you need. Also, kind of that same enthusiasm in the football side of things. I don't believe from what I'm hearing that any of us believe they have that person in place right now that can operate the football side of things and make sure it's running perfectly or the best it can. It should be running perfectly because this is the Arsenal, and they shouldn't have to struggle in that aspect. And anybody would accept that job, right, to come in and run the Arsenal team, right? That shouldn't be a hard one to fill. There should be enough names and people out there in the world that would want to take that job.
Yeah, there's definitely names.
We don't have that person here, right? And we should have that person.
He wanted it, didn't he? David O'Leary kind of made himself known that he would be up for something, and that was shot down fairly quickly.
Our record
now's that
appearance
time.
holder.
Maybe somebody at that level. Now's that time to do it now because we obviously don't have anybody doing that right now with any kind of qualifications at that level right now.
Yeah, Alonso. AD has a question here. If Ozil was not doing the necessities to warrant him a place in the squad at match day games, how is Willian still able to play with performances like that? Alonso?
In my opinion, there's no discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no hey guys, perform or else, or lose your spot. And it's mind blowing how Willian still continues to get a chance. He's not performing. He's out in another land.
Because he's an Arteta signing. Arteta's invested in him emotionally.
That's his son, right? So, in my opinion, he hasn't done nothing worthwhile except the first game, and you want to build on that, right? If you're come from a rival club, you want to prove yourself, right? That you want to build on their success at Chelsea, right? But he didn't do that, and Arteta isn't disciplined and doesn't show him or doesn't bother to put an arm around his neck and say, hey, listen, we got to perform better because we're paying you this much money. And, you got to look back at yourself. You got to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, how can I improve? Instead, he's just running about, doing walkabout, and just doesn't care. Or maybe he cares, but he doesn't show it, And so, it does make any sense on why he doesn't get enough. I don't understand why he's still on the pitch. I don't understand why he doesn't play on U23. So hopefully, get his mind right and to get his focus back. There's something there that I don't see why Arteta favors him, and it's a big mistake, I think.
So listen. Tony told me we would need longer than an hour and a half to talk about this. I'm actually beginning to believe that now, Tony. We do need a lot longer, but we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to go around and everyone ask them how they feel about the process so far. We'll speak a few minutes about what could be happening toward the end of the season, beginning of next season, and then we'll get into the Premier League preview for this game. We're going to preview the Leeds game coming up. So I'm going to ask everyone, Tony, do you believe in the process so far? Are you wavering? Are you on board with Arteta and Arsenal? And it's an entity. It's together. It's the whole club together.
And the whole thing, I think it's a get to put together because there keep on being whispers of Overmars coming. He said he's interested in coming back to Arsenal or Barcelona. I think he'd be perfect as director of football. He's raised 270 million euros the last 2 years in sales at Ajax. He can get the players we need. He knows what he's doing.
And despite the difficulties we've had over the last 2 or 3 months, are you still hopeful that we're going in the right direction, Tony?
I think as a club we are, but I'm not sure that Arteta is the one to lead us to there. I think we got to get the right board people in there. I think Overmars would be a step in that direction.
Okay, I actually think a coach that can guide a club to a trophy in his first half season, has something about him. Is he the finished article? No, he's not the finished article. We talked about his man management. Leaves a lot to be desired. We've left a lot of good money out on loan or not playing, hasn't played a game for the team at all. And we've wasted some money that's actually on the field as well, i.e. Willian. But despite everything that's happened this season, I had hoped we would be better, in a better situation than we are right now. But I still keep the faith that we're going in the right direction, because the last couple of transfer windows we've gotten players in and we've gotten players out that we've needed to. I'm still going to banter Stan a little bit. There will be another shitbag 6 to be named. It's just the next 6 who are the worst players of the club, and that's just the evolution of the rebuild that's going to have to happen. Gary and we might disagree on a few things, but I believe we've gotten a lot more transfers correct than not in the last year, and I think we're headed in the right direction. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we have got, like you said, we have gotten better with some of our transfers. I mean, I think the thing we're seeing now is that even though we're getting good players in, they seem to not be able to get on the field. I mean, we've had we've had Ryan get hurt, we've had Partey can't get it right, and Partey being the biggest one, right? It's the biggest player we've had come in, and we can't. I mean, he's missed.
A player who can do so much for us. We've seen the benefit of it. We're not seeing a lot of them on the field.
Yeah, I think he's missed twice as many games with Arsenal than he has with Atletico in the careers, the many years that he was there. Is that? Yeah. I mean, is that the Arsenal? The Arsenal curse or whatever? But I mean,
is that our?
He's got double the missed games.
Is it the people who are there who are supposed to take care of the players? What's going on, do you think?
I mean, I definitely feel like the physios. This is where there's no accountability, right? This can't be happening. This happens consistently now, it seems, and players are coming back too soon. That's not, I know, I was on a pod earlier today, and it's like there's like 3 people that have to decide whether a player comes on and plays.
Yeah.
Partey's come back. This is going to be his 3rd time coming back, and he's still not right. Right? So who's making those decisions, right? You've got your most expensive transfer coming in, and you're rushing him back out there when, in reality, this year's already done. We're not going to get as much as we want out of this year. Do we want him for the next 3 years, or are we going to sell him when he gets healthy, right? Yeah. So
I always thought this year was going to be about implementing the younger players and bringing them on, developing them for this season. But Stan, I never thought it would go this slowly, and I thought we'd be where we are now in November, honestly.
Yeah, man. Thomas Partey making more comebacks than Rocky, isn't he? At this point, what's going on now? And and I know that we always used to have that thing, didn't we? Even under in the Wenger era, where's it? Our players, they get injured, they come back, they get injured straight away. But since then, I believe that we've had a complete overhaul of the medical team and that kind of side of things. Yet it still seems that we still have a problem in that area. Like you say, Thomas Partey's been at Arsenal and has had more injuries than he's had in his whole football career since he was playing at school. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But my where I am and Mikel Arteta is, it's like this. I was 50-50 when he was appointed. I was 50-50. There's a part of me that was like, well, we could have some experience, but, you know, I do like a little bit of a gamble. So I was 50-50. And now, 18 months with him being the Arsenal manager, I feel exactly the same. You know, I still feel kind of 50-50. You know, I see some good things about him being the Arsenal manager, but equally, I can see things where I'm like, well, you know, there's still some problems here. You know, I hope, you know, he can learn this part of the game a little bit better, things like that. So I'm kind of 50-50, but I know what I don't want, and I don't want a knee-jerk reaction to get him out. We put someone else in, and then the rebuild starts yet again. I want to see, as I mentioned earlier, I want to see a bit of bedrock, a bit of stability. I want to be able to sit back for a while and say, okay, now I'm watching. This is what Mikel Arteta wants Arsenal to be like. Now let me see it. Let me see whether it's good or whether it's dog shit. You know, a fair analysis of it. No more hiding. You know, like what Sam says. He's had the windows now. He'd have had the windows, so he would have had the opportunity to get rid of the ones that he doesn't fancy, to bring in the ones that he does, and then have a little bit of time to put that together. And then I would say for me, obviously, when you said earlier about, was it, you know, 4 points out of the next 7 games, you know, and Benfica and that, yeah, that would be untenable. But for me, all being well, I would say that I would be able to come on a podcast in December of this year, around December, November, December, and I think that I would be able to tell someone whether I think Mikel Arteta is going to be good for Arsenal and he should still be in the job, or whether it's been a mistake. I think I would have seen enough by then to give a fair assessment on what I think of him as an Arsenal manager.
We'll book you for November, okay? Have a look at this question down below, and as I get through Alonso and Sam, we'll get to Tony, and I want to know how many points, minimum amount of points you take from those 7. Sam, Alonso, are you with me?
I'm with you, man.
Are you? Do you see improvement? Do you see Arteta? Do you see the process? Do you see it in a positive light, or do you think we're going backwards?
So, I think I told you this before, Ray, that one of the most things that happened, one of the worst things that could have ever happened to Arteta was him winning the FA Cup, right? Because if you're a manager, right, and your ranking as a team is nowhere near your top 4, and you win the FA Cup, right, you had to have standards to hopefully succeed and make improvements for next year, which he hasn't done. But on the other side of things, he has made an improvement on the defensive side of the pitch, which we want, because in the past we've given him so many goals, but yet we're still made top 4, top 6, top whatever. But I don't know if he's doing it step by step or what, but because you don't know what's going on in Arteta's mind sometimes, because there's other formations that go along with it. So I think, you know, how to rank Arteta in the process has to be 50-50 still. I think it's 50-50 because you still don't know what's going on with them as far as man management and all that stuff. And he has issues that has to work out. So next year, in my opinion, is the most important year because he's going into that 3rd year, and this year, you know, it's kind of iffy still because of COVID and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. And also, he has to learn how to trust his younger players as well. Like Willian, like AMN, like Reece Nelson, like he has this year at MLS as well, and to an extent Osaka, you know. So he has to learn how to trust himself first, you know.
Yeah, I think that's going to come, Alonso. We saw a time in the season where he was literally barking orders to everybody on the field. I haven't heard that recently. It stopped. You know what I mean? I think he's starting to trust the players, but I think he's learning and growing as well, and I think it's going to be a process for him. I do not know what's so funny, but
Ray, but you think about it. I mean, you have a guy like Balogun, right, who who I think we can all agree on that he has great talent in Balogun, but he prefers Arteta. I mean, excuse me, Intensity, and that's kind of is disappointing, you know. And he keeps on
Yeah,
using Intensity and not
yeah,
Balogun, you know. So I think
yeah.
as
I
far as I
mean,
go, he has to trust that part of the process.
yeah. I mean, every fan is not going to agree with what Arteta is going to pick and hold as his favorite players. We've got Bellerin, we've got Xhaka, we've got Nketiah, all of these players, and Willian. But I think as a whole, we have to look at it as a whole. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got to create to be able to make Arteta palatable and acceptable. You have to create more and more criteria, right? You have to say you have to open the net wider and wider and wider, right? You have to say, oh well, then there was this, and then there's that, and I know he might smell good, he might use the right cologne, how far out we're going to go to make him acceptable, right? I mean, it's clawing at straws. That's what it's basically is. We have to look at this realistically. And I'll be short and sweet, and I say no, the progress isn't good enough. I mean, in what universe is the progress good enough? How can you look me in the face and say what we're doing in the league, our position statistically, apart from the defensive side of it, how is what we're doing, and we've got more losses than wins, right? We've played crap football for the majority, absolute crap football for the majority of the season. We're looking at little straws here. Oh, Emil Smith Rowe, fantastic, brilliant talent. Love to see him play. He's one of the positives of the season, together with Tierney and a few of the other players who are playing well. That's the positives. But, apart from that, there is no progress. We've gone back. We've gone down the table. We're playing worse. And you give him, he won the FA Cup, which is his only redeeming factor at the moment by winning. Was it 2 or 3 games? Yeah. That being said, very very good games he won. In the final, you can argue sort of fell into our lap a little bit with the way things went, but that's the way football is. That's great. It happened that way, and Arteta can take a lot of the credit for that. That's fine. But then what does he do this season? This season he bins the FA Cup, right? He bins the FA Cup for what? To lose another 2 games in the league. So, it's decisions like that. They're just completely ludicrous that he ruins it for himself. He shoots himself in the foot, basically. So overall, no, the progress is not there. But since he's come so far now into his process, and he's very close to this key transfer window now, where basically it's either put up or shut up, and you're going to get your players now in, and your little ducks are going to get into a row now, and you're not going to have any more excuses, because Ray, let's be honest. When we get to August and September, what excuses are you going to have left for him?
None. And I still keep on remembering hearing Rohan in the background saying, the last 2 windows I've heard Rohan say, and I've agreed with Rohan, this next window is the most important window for Arsenal. And Rohan has said that the last 2 windows. And we can say it again this summer.
Maybe the last 4. It always feels like that, right? I've said it for so long. It always feels like something big is, it's like a make or break time, but it just seems to be all the time now for us.
Yeah, and if we have to keep retooling, because a team has to evolve. And Sam, it's great that we have representation of the fans that are not on board with Arteta and are more vociferous about it, and it's good to hear as well, because he is losing fans as well. Arteta is. Yeah, we're 11th place. We're not scoring enough. We have done some good things, but Sam, if I was to tell you that we were developing young players this season, and you would have to accept losing games to do that, would you have accepted that?
Yeah, of course I like to see the young players, but I think you can do both. I think you can develop. I think we could have seen Emil Smith Rowe and this season and still done better overall and played better football and been in a better position. You know, I think our squad. You look at our squad, right? This is the thing that's baffling. You look at us. You look at our attacking part of our squad, right? And you just there's no way you can say that's an 11th, 12th, or 13th place squad. You got Pepe, right? Okay, yeah, we know he's had his problems, but I'm talking about now when you look at potential and you look at on the paper, right? Their value on paper: Pepe, Aubameyang, Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe.
Tierney,
Tierney, Martinelli, Lacazette. I mean, you look at those guys on paper and you say, how on earth are we not at least battling for a Europa League spot, right? Because you look at those players on paper, not how they're actually performing, but how we think they should be performing on, according to what we think their potential and what their ability is, right? How many clubs above us would you say, okay, yeah, their attack is better than ours? I would argue you're at maybe 4 or 5 at most, saying that attack is better than ours, right? So it's.
I think you're.
We're far below where we should be. That's what it is.
Well, what you're looking at is the value of the player, Sam. I don't think you're looking at the mentality of the players.
No, but where does that? But we put all this. We put all this on the shoulders of the players, and yes, of course. Sometimes the players are not performing well enough. You can say their effort is not good enough. Yes, of course. There is a lot of criticism there that you can put at the feet of the players. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the manager. He's the guy who's supposed to motivate them, create an atmosphere. Because the way you get players in mind, and again, I'm not in any way saying I'm an expert or have all the answers. I'm not. But in my opinion, from what I've experienced in my time as a football supporter, looking at football, basically what's been going on with football since I've started watching football, is the way you create motivation in players and a team and a club that works is by having players who, when they play well together, when they gel and they work well together, the effort is there, the winning comes, and everything sort of falls into place, right? But when you're playing players out of position, players who should be playing at all because they just give you nothing, and you have someone who should be playing who's not playing, the man management issues. When all of these things come into the mix, you're not generating that harmony, you're not generating that motivation to play. The tactics are not there. The players are not stupid. When they're playing like we were doing for 6 or 7 or 8 games, we were playing tactics that you could see the players realize this is not working. Why are we doing this? Yes, we're doing our jobs. We have to play this way, but this is not working. Why are we doing it? And we were saying the players were downing tools. Of course they were downing tools because they were doing stuff they just realized was not working at all again and again and again and again without trying something different, right? And, that you have to put at the feet of the manager. You can't put that at the feet of the players, right? The manager has to create a tactic and a strategy and an atmosphere in the dressing room and at the club that works, that's cohesive and creates a winning mentality, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I like I said, Tony, like Tony said, we could go on for a bit longer on this, but let's get into this question, Tony. I actually think we'll get 12 points from these 21 points available here on these fixtures. City, Leeds, Leicester, Burnley, West Ham, Spurs, Liverpool. How many points do you think we'll get, Tony?
11 minimum, because that's what it says. Question: we should have 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses, but I think we'll do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, right about 12 points. I think we'll get 12 points. Gary? Will I come back to you?
I just think that's a really challenging lineup right there. I mean, Burnley's the only one that I can say, yep, we should get 3 points out of that. If we don't, then if we don't get 3 points out of that, it doesn't really matter what we do with the rest because that's where we are right now. The other teams there are playing pretty well right now. I mean, the Spurs are trickling down, but what was the list just gone on me? What happened there? Wait, how am I supposed to talk about it? You just took away all the games.
What?
You just took away.
It's been there for 20 minutes.
No,
Okay, I'll put it back up.
yeah. No, I mean,
How many
I
points, Gary?
8.
Gary, you got podcast fatigue.
Yeah, Gary reminds me of me about like 8 months ago.
Yeah, but he's like you and Sam combined 8 months ago.
Yeah.
All right, Gary, I found them for you.
All right, thank you.
This is what's wrong with our fan base, Dan. Want everything handed to them.
Spoon fed.
That's not nice. That's not nice. I'm going to go with 11. Yeah.
All right. 11
That's why
or
I ended up
12.
with 11. I ended up with 11 points myself. Yeah.
All right. Dan and Alonso report.
I've come up with 9 or 10. I've come up with 9, 10 for me.
9 or 10. Yeah.
I say 16.
There you go.
Ooh.
Optimistic fan right there. I thought I was optimistic. All
He's
right,
like, Gary, thinking we're gonna have 76 goals this season.
Gary. Let's finish up real quickly with Arteta this season. What doesn't look good for how we're going to finish the season? We got 15 games left. We're probably not going to make the European spots, but is that might not be a bad thing in of itself?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard multiple people say already that, maybe we don't want to be playing in those European games because, I mean, one of the key reasons is we just don't have a squad to do that. We don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we were lucky we were able to kind of get the group that we got this year. We had a depth problem for many years, and even though we had a high number of players, the depth was just not there because the quality wasn't there. Now we've got rid of the numbers. The numbers are right, but we still don't have the depth, right? So playing in the European League, I think, would be too much for us if we're going to do this the right way. I mean, we're going to have to take that big step backwards or, find those players that, because we're going to need to find, I think, as I said earlier today, I think we're like about 6 or 8 players away from where we want to be.
Yeah.
And one of the key reasons for that is we don't have a good backup for Tierney. We don't really have a partner for Partey, and we might need a backup for Partey as it is right now. I mean, that's 3 players. A right back, do we have that? Maybe. We're gonna have to really sign a backup goalkeeper. Ryan looks the part, so I'll take him. Is Odegaard are we going to be able to keep him? I mean, if he doesn't score any goals, maybe we get to keep him, and then he can turn the goals on next year. But he looked promising. I mean, I go back to that. I looked at that second half a second time, and we were close to getting a lot out of that game. We had many chances. We just didn't finish. Yeah.
Aston Villa now have beaten us 3 times in a row. That annoys me.
Yeah. No, so I think, for monetary reasons they might want it, but this is where they're gonna have to go to Papa Stan and say, you know what, can I just borrow your, like I said, can I borrow your credit card? I need to pick up some groceries and make it the black card.
Who's got the cops outside? Who's got the cops outside?
That was me.
Is it you, Gary?
I don't have Stan's black card. I don't have that card. But
cops outside. You, Stan.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I think we're better off. Like right now, we're better off not going. If we were able to replenish and get a good depth in the team, then we should be okay. But are we even gonna get what we need to actually play there? I mean, we have to move up so many spots to get into 6th place. Can we win the Europa League with the squad we got now and still somewhat compete in the league?
I'm gonna tell you now. I don't think we're gonna win the Europa League.
No, I'm not. But those are the only 2 options. So you're talking about Europa League. We only have 2 ways to do it. The easiest way actually is to win the Europa League. Yeah, I feel because there's less games. We did what we said we did what we did last year, and we focused on the FA Cup and the other games we'll try. Then you have is it 6 or 7 games or something like that to win the Europa League? I don't remember how many it is, but
No, it's a lot more than that, and
Yeah.
two-legged
less
affairs
than
as well.
15, right? It's less than 15. So,
Yeah.
so do we have the depth to go that deep? We'll probably if we're able to get to the finals, we're probably going to be dead. The players will be dead.
I think it was 7 games. I think it was 7 games. I think it was 7 games away from a final.
Yep.
So that's 8 games, right?
So 3 ties.
Yeah.
3 two-legged
Well,
affairs.
you got two now in the next knockout phase. 2 games, 2 then in the quarterfinal, 2 in a semi-final. That's 6, and then you got the final. That's 7. So the 7th game from now would be a final.
So you've got 7 games versus 15, right?
So
we have.
If we get through Benfica, we're in the quarterfinals, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. But
So,
the standard
it is possible
we
can. It is possible to do it based on the number of games, but based on the quality of the competition, we're struggling with Aston Villa right now, right? And we're not even, so
yeah.
I think we're way away from that.
Yeah. So Stan, not making European competition might make it difficult to attract the players we need in the summertime, but it may actually crystallize what we need in terms of we should look for hungry young players in the Premier League and the Championship maybe as well.
Yeah.
Happenstance might help us.
To those people that say, "Oh, I really hope that we don't have European competition next season," that's what Arsenal needs at the moment. I don't get it. I want to see. As a football fan, I want to see Arsenal play as many games as I can over the season. I enjoy watching the football. I don't want to see less. But as from an Arsenal standpoint, I think it's absolutely vital that we have some form of European competition. We've fallen away now from the Champions League, and now we seem to be getting comfortable in the Europa League. It's been like 4 seasons now that we're in that. Now we're going to be falling.
And now we're going to be out of Europe.
We don't have a squad to compete in that.
What worries me is that this summer, especially as we're looking at a rebuild, what happens if the Cronkies give us a war chest to Mikel Arteta, and he's got all the money to spend, but we're not in any European competition, and some of the players that he really would like to get, and we can now afford, turn around and say, yeah, but I want to be playing in Europe. Football players, they do. Maybe a
ambition. Those who have ambition, they want to play in Europe.
You can't do that now. Look at where we are. You're talking about a discussion that would have happened last year, going into the summer, and we didn't do. I always thought we would take advantage of the economic environment right now and try to buy as many players as we can at whatever price we could, because teams are looking to make some money on in addition to surviving, right? We didn't do that. Okay, I get it. Now we're not in a situation where we can actually command. We're in a really bad situation where how are we going to get this European football when we don't even have a squad big enough to do that? So I don't think realistically we are in a position where I think we are where we are supposed to be right now based on the decisions that were made prior to this season. If they really were concerned about European football, they would have done a lot better in terms of, fixing the squad. They knew they had problem children in the squad, right? Those has been a problem longer than just this season. This is like a 3-year process going on here, right? They knew that. They knew they had deadwood long before the season started.
Tony, did you want to jump in? I saw you shaking your head, Tony.
Same discussions last year when the FA Cup was our only route to Europe. People were saying, "Oh, we don't need Europe." We absolutely need Europe, especially since next year probably fans will be coming back and will need for revenue more than ever. Being out of it, we're not going to get near the players we need. Plus, being in Europe gives a chance for young players to play, especially in Europa.
Yep. You can say we need Europe as much as you want, but the reality looks like we're not going to make it.
That's a failure. That is an abject failure.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to look at it.
Yeah.
You can't look at it as a blessing. That's a failure.
Big failure.
You know, we're Arsenal Football Club. You know, we're not. We're not Burnley. You know,
I just look at this European situation that we're in, similar to the Balogun one. This is something that should have been thought of and fixed, and a plan needed to be in place.
Yeah, but you see,
long before
Gary,
we are
I agree
here
with you,
today.
Gary. But the thing is, I agree with you, Gary. But we need to stop. We need to stop dwelling on the past. We need to move into the future now. We should learn from our mistakes now, which hopefully Edu and them are doing by rectifying the situation, getting the players out, improving the contracts. Now, hopefully, we'll see now in the window we'll bring in some right players. I hope that as Arsenal Football Club, this is the only hope I have, excuse me, is that as the club stature we have at Arsenal Football Club, is one of the redeeming factors that we can still bring in a few decent players, despite maybe not having European football. That's the only way that we can look at it.
Sam, there's plenty of players who want to play for Arsenal who can improve the team. There's plenty of players out there.
Exactly. We shouldn't, and like you guys say, we shouldn't be snobs and say, oh, we can't have a good Championship player, or we can't have another Premier League player from a lower club who might improve us. That's snobbery. It's got to stop, because we've seen so many times
that's not the fans, though. I mean, that is the team. The team is the one that's doing that, because I don't want to control who they pick up and don't pick up to bring into the squad. I shouldn't be able to do that as a fan. And if that's how it's being run, then that's pretty bad business. Because that now you've got people who don't know anything about how this thing works, picking your players. And it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's where, the snobbery is with the team. And you know what? That could be with the marketing team. I said maybe the marketing team's the one that's running this, because they figure, we're bringing a big name. We'll sell a lot of shirts, and that's not the way it works. You want, like you said, you want guys you want your Tierneys coming in who just want to play football. They don't care what the weather is. They want to go out and play, right?
Yeah, well, I think we've made some. I think with our latest recruitment team, I agree with Ray that with the latest recruitment team we have in place now, with Edu in charge, basically as it is at the moment. I think we have made more good signings than bad signings. I think we've improved there, but we need to improve more. Of course, we need to bring in more players now that they're going to give us what we want, and that's hopefully what the summer transfer window is going to give us. Right, we're going to see now. I think with a lot of the deadwood out the window, not only does it open up a lot more, I think, for buying in what we want, it opens up a huge amount on the wage bill as well. There's so much available now on the wage bill. We can give players good contracts.
I want to get to a point, Sam, where the shitbag six are actually good second choice squad players, and they're not actually shitbags. They can do a job for us.
If you call them that, then they're not going to be good. Like I said, it's depth. Call it what it is.
There's some good shitbag.
No. It's depth. We want good quality players on our bench, right? When you look at your bench and you've got Martinelli there, and we actually we had Martinelli, we had Gabriel, we had Aubameyang on our bench at one point. Like a couple games ago. That's a pretty strong bench, right? We were missing the midfielder, but we had a decent. That's for me a big strong bench, and that's where we need to be at that point, where we can look at our bench and go, I can bring this person in, and I'm not going to lose a step. I'm going to get somebody who's rested and give me the 30 minutes that I need to get through this game.
And that's the exact reason why I would give El Iniesta an extended contract, for that exact reason. And I think it dovetails into what Sam said a moment ago about snobbery. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that El Neni is a certain starter every week in Arsenal's midfield.
He's happy to be a squad player, right?
I would definitely give him a contract and keep him in our squad, because I think he's what is a perfect example of a squad player, and exactly what Gary just said. If we need to bring someone like him in, we know that we're not going to get a less than a 6 performance from him. Yeah. You know that on average we may get a 7 out of him, and he might not score or set up an assist, but we won't miss a step in the midfield. It won't be a huge decline. He's been around the club a long time now, and I think by constantly being shunned and going out on loan. And the fact that he has come back and said, I'm still ready to play for Arsenal, and not being, well, why should I even bother? They'll probably get rid of me again in the next window. Shows he's the sort of player which you should keep around. And by all accounts as well, he's a positive force behind the scenes. He's, from what I gather, everyone from the tea lady up to the manager likes his attitude. He's a positive force. So I would, again, that's not for me, would not be keeping Deadwood around. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of a longevity. You have to have some players who have got, more than a couple of seasons under their belt with the club. I would extend his contract for sure.
Yeah. Rob Holding would be one. Chambers would be another one. And, but you do need, every squad needs players who are willing to sit on the bench and will play 12 to 15 games a season.
Well, that's the thing. You can't have Varane or Ramos as backup, right? They're not going to want to be backup. That's the thing.
Well, then those aren't the players that we want, and that's fine. That's fine.
The assemble, just to put a button on this, the assemble, when you put money and power in the wrong hands, what do you get? A fool who have what have Arsenal got? Arteta. Sam, is Arteta the future? Remains to be seen. Watch this space, and we will be following intently. Let's get into the Premier League preview and shock choice. So I'm going to give each of us one game, just so we can get around that. We're a little bit tight on time here. Sam, Leicester City versus Liverpool. Leicester City versus Liverpool.
Yeah, you know what? I can see Liverpool still struggling in that game.
Liverpool have been woeful.
They've been there. I think their confidence is shot. They've got problems with their defence. I can see Leicester City winning that game. To be honest, I can see that. That's not going to be my upset pick.
Playing at home, I think so as well. Third versus fourth. Tony, Crystal Palace versus Burnley.
Do we care?
Not really. Not really.
It's a draw. 0-0. No points for any of them.
Yeah. That's a second game on the Saturday. You can do whatever you want. Do the chores for your missus, whatever you need to do.
Go vacuum the floor.
Yeah, vacuum the floor, whatever. Gary, Manchester City are in first place versus the Spuds.
I'm going 7-0 to the boys in blue. I want total destruction. I don't want it. I want meltdown. I want red cards. I want it all. I want a red card on the first on the kickoff. Like the ball's been kicked, red card. Boom. Game over. We're all laughing.
Jose Mourinho has got to be close to that point where the cracks are going to start developing, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're playing. I think they're playing.
Out of the FA Cup.
They're playing Manchester City at probably the wrong time. They're on their way down, and Manchester City is just rolling. Right? They're just rolling. They look.
The thing Mourinho was brought in to win things, right? That winning mentality, and it's not happening, is it? It's just not happening. So that together with a poor playing style and the fans not really liking what they're seeing. I'm not sure how long he's got left, to be honest. But Daniel Levy personally picked him, so I think Levy's got a lot of time for him, to be honest.
How much is he being paid a year? Is it 50 million?
I don't know. It's a lot. Really? He's getting a lot.
15.
You know, man. If you compare that to Mikel Arteta, who's getting before he took a pay cut for the kind, he was on 5 million. That was his joining salary, right? And he's had a pay cut since then.
And Mourinho's on 15, Stan?
Is it 15, something like that? Yeah.
Wow.
It's not 50. It's not 50. It can't be 50 million.
Okay, I'm going to look it up actually.
Because Wenger was on 12, so he can't be on 4 times what
Wenger was on 8.
No, his last contract was 12.
Simone has the richest one in football, and it's 36 million.
Yeah, that's with all the that's with bonuses and stuff. If he wins what he wants to win, his basic salary is a lot less than that.
There we go. Brownie said 50.
You know what? I don't think we should be trusting Brownie with any kind of financial.
He's not on 50 million, Brownie. He's not on 50 million.
Brownie's school of finance is not one that for a
Brownie,
lot of people.
Brownie's source of information is not very reliable, unfortunately. We've learned
Yeah,
that.
it's only around 30 million.
30 million, that's with bonuses and everything, right?
That's his salary. 30. It's doubled his
32 million.
His predecessor was on $19.3 million, at 15 million a year. So yeah, he's getting 30 million. 30 million a year.
Is that dollars then or euros?
Pounds.
32 million
Pounds. 30 million pounds. That's what? How does that? What does that work out as a? Jesus Christ, he makes more than a lot of players, then, doesn't he? I mean, it just makes.
Actually, doesn't he have a clause? He has a clause that he's the highest paid as well.
That's a lot of money for a manager.
with a 7% pay cut.
No, that's longer.
Okay, Stan. Brighton at home to Aston Villa.
Draw.
And let me know if any of you have picked your upset. Have we gone over the upsets?
I think I'll go for a draw on that one.
Go for a draw. Okay. Sam. Southampton at home to Wolves.
It's gonna be a tough game, that one. I think we'll see a narrow Southampton win.
And they've just beaten them in the FA Cup, so it's kind of funny. They had them in the FA Cup, and now they're going to play them in the league. Southampton have moved on to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup as well, and pretty decent teams in the FA Cup still. So that's going to be a tough one. I do hope Everton for Brownie. I hope Everton will win the FA Cup. Tony, West Brom versus Manchester United.
United to win.
He's seeing if you're
I had to
paying
mute that.
attention.
He turns his screen off, but then he makes a racket.
Maybe they won't hear me if they can't see me.
Yeah.
Alonso.
He's like one of the.
All right, Tony.
Look at it.
Tony, West Brom versus Manchester United, 19 versus.
I said United before off a racket.
I didn't hear you. Have we come across any upsets yet? No, we haven't hit any of our upsets. Alonso, you get the big one. I think we're all going to have a say about this. Arsenal versus Leeds. I'm going to frame this. This is a must-win game for Arsenal. Look at our schedule. All right, Alonso first. Go ahead.
Can I just do a prediction on West Brom and Manchester United real quick?
What's that?
Can I do a prediction on West Brom and Manchester United real quick?
Yes, go for it.
So here we go. I think that Niles is going to play on the left-hand side, right? And he's going to somehow pass it to
You said that last week.
Yeah, you said that last week, Alonso. Come on.
I have a theory on this, though.
Come up with something new.
He's going to pass it to Kieran Gibbs. And Kieran Gibbs will score 1-0 to West Brom.
Kieran Gibbs again.
Okay.
Yeah, you said that last week.
So my prediction for Arsenal and Leeds.
That's his prediction every week.
I think that it's going to be 3-1 to Arsenal. I think they're going to get pissed and they're just going to score a lot of goals. So 3-1 to Arsenal.
All right, 3-1 Arsenal. It's a must-win game, Gary. We're not going to get a lot of points, and we need to pick up points against Leeds. We've lost the last two. There has to be a response. I wanted the response to be against Villa. Didn't happen.
Yeah, I think without Partey, it's going to be a little. So I think it's going to be high scoring. I'm going to go 4-2 Arsenal. I think it's going to be like 3-2 late, and we're going to score just to put it away. But yeah, I mean, we need to. I'm telling as a team, we look like we have at least going forward, we have a plan, and we're going to have to reach down deep to get something,
I
to get
don't
that
see where we're
fluidity.
getting 4 goals.
That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. Stan,
What was the question?
your preview of Arsenal versus Leeds. It's a must-win game, right?
No, it's kamikaze football when you play against Leeds, isn't it? It's like there's only enough petrol for them to get out to the Navy fleet. They're not coming back. So it's wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I think that there could be a a few goals in it for us. It's going to be maybe a good test for our tight defence that we were talking about, you know, and saying how good our defensive, but our defence is. So it's, who knows, you know? But there's been a few games we've been thinking, wow, this is going to be a really wide and open, expansive game, and it's ended 0-0. There's been a few games like that, right? So, you know, who knows? But my final score, I think we can beat Leeds. I think we're going to get the 3 points.
They do commit players forward, Sam.
Yeah, the Leeds are kamikaze football, right? They're Kevin Keegan mid-90s, aren't they? It's just basically we're going to outscore you, and we don't put so much emphasis on defence. It's all about that high press, winning by pressing up front, isn't it? You know, that typical, you know, that high press football. But the problem with Leeds is they win one game 4-0 and lose the next 4-0. It's just kamikaze. It's crazy. So we'll see now what kind of Leeds we get, basically, whether we get the Jekyll or the Hyde part of it. But we have to win. I agree. It's a game we have to win. Leeds is a team we have to. If we've got any ambition of getting anywhere up in that top half of the table, we have to beat Leeds. They're a team that can be beaten. Their defence can be got at. You know, their defence is not great. They're much better in attack than they are in defence. We should be winning that game, definitely. Yeah. And so yeah, for me, we have to win.
Naughty Boy 99. Don't apologize at all. It's all good. Gotta have a laugh.
All fun and games. All fun and games.
All fun and games. I'd love it if I beat him. I'd love it.
Oh yeah, that classic.
Beat him.
Classic. Yeah. I'd love it. I'd love it.
What I'm really disappointed about Arsenal is I know the teams of old, if they were beaten, if Aston Villa had beaten them earlier in the season, Wolves had beaten them earlier in the season, professionals like Lee Dixon and Tony Adams would store that in their memory banks, and when they come back and have the return game, they would win that game in very.
Yeah, that's called leadership when we don't have it. So,
we don't have it.
I mean, Arteta, being a captain, should know what that is, but he's not instilling that in his plays. It seems, right? I mean, I don't think he was that kind of a leader, but that's what we need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our left back's a little bit like that, though.
Yeah, we can get him on the field. I mean, I don't understand how he could be practicing out in the snow, but he's too injured to play in the game. I don't get it. I mean, he's fighting.
Do you think he just goes out there for the photo op, Gary?
Yeah,
like I said, the marketing team is really good.
Around him, and he stands there like that. They take the picture, and as soon as they take the picture, his PR guy comes on and wraps a big park around him.
You know, they've got the heat fans blowing at him. Yeah.
Listen, I don't have any thoughts on Shagan Lee Gunner, so moving on.
I do, but you know. And
it's okay.
I don't really watch their content, so I don't watch Lee Gunner's content. I don't really have any thoughts on him. And the other guy, I only heard recently that he was caught masturbating on a watch along, so he sounds like a bit of a wanker. So that's about it.
Yep. Tony, Everton versus Fulham.
Everton. Fulham's terrible.
I'm going crazy here. I need Everton to lose, so.
You need Everton to lose.
Yes, they'll lose points. So that's my upset pick.
Why do you want Everton to lose?
Because they're ahead of us, and we can't do it ourselves. So
that's your upset pick, is it?
Yeah, it is.
He's just trying to catch up with me on points.
I need to, definitely.
Gary's going for Fulham. Wow. So Tony, Everton versus Fulham.
I already told you.
I know, but Gary distracted me.
I told you Everton's a win. Fulham sucks. This game.
Who's away form sucks? Fulham's.
I just said they completely suck anyway. Just Everton's a win.
All right, Alonso, West Ham versus Sheffield United.
Ooh.
I think it'd be a draw. I think that West Ham need to come down a bit. And I think Sheffield United have been playing pretty decent of late. They're not going to give up, obviously. So I think it'll be a draw, 1-1
draw. What's your upset pick, Alonso?
It's Newcastle beating Chelsea.
Newcastle beating Chelsea. Oh, last one. Okay.
That was mine, too.
Yeah, I think Newcastle's going
That's
to
a
win.
good one.
I think it'll be 2-0 to Newcastle.
So Stan,
That upset one, I go with Alonso. Yeah, definitely, man. Chelsea are like,
So that's 3 of us.
Then again, though, the way it is at the minute, if Chelsea losing, is that really an upset? It might be an upset if Newcastle lose, right?
it is because they're fifth.
I get it. They're the
That's
bigger
right.
club. They're the bigger club. They've spent all that dough on all them players, and it just doesn't seem to be. But then again, they ain't got Fat Frank in the chair, have they? Do you know what I mean? And I definitely think that one player who I think is going to be really good for them, who has not really had a many good runs of games, but I think he's, the right manager could shine, is Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think there's a lot more about him as a player, and he could really, really shine. But can I answer that other question? Thoughts on Claude? I tell him my thoughts on Claude. I've been on their channel quite a lot of times because I do the UFC matches and the boxing matches with Terry, and they've always been very hospitable to me when I've been on there. So Claude's always been really nice to me. So that's my thoughts. Sorry.
So yeah, definitely. Sam, I'm picking Sheffield United away to West Ham. What's your pick?
Yeah, me too. I'm going for that as well.
Okay.
Sheffield United to at least get a draw there. Yeah, hopefully a win. I think Newcastle. In terms of Newcastle,
really, the West Ham are playing at the minute. Are really fucking.
Well, West Ham are due a blip, and Sheffield United are picking up form. I just can't see Newcastle getting a result against Chelsea. Not with Tuchel now.
I don't know how you can say that and then look at think Sheffield United's going to do this. Do they do it? They're both.
Because Sheffield United are picking up a bit of form now. They are playing a bit better lately. So, I mean, we're looking at upsets, right? So they are underdogs. Something has to happen.
West Ham ain't got a striker, have they? They didn't buy one to replace the injured guy, did they? Or I don't think they've got anything.
They got Lingard, haven't they? They got Lingard on loan.
He's not a striker, is he?
Yeah,
he's up too, didn't he? I mean, they got 2 goals out of him the last time he played.
A right winger or a right-sided forward.
Yeah, he's like a wing. He's like an inside forward type of thing. He scored, didn't he, in his debut last time? So, and they've got players who can score, right? They've got Souček who can score, and
Karolinko.
So, but anyway, I just think Sheffield United might get a result there.
Is Lingard on loan there, Sam? Or did they?
Yeah, he's on loan. He's got a loan from Man United. Yeah. And just because I think Chelsea are doing quite well now with Tuchel. I think he's starting to get them to play a bit better, and I just can't see Newcastle beating or getting a draw against that team. To be honest, I mean, even though Newcastle have improved lately, I just think Chelsea are too much for them. We'll see though. We'll see.
What's what?
Right, are we coming in for landing yet, or what?
Ray's zoned out. He's zoned out.
Call it yet. So
If
look
it's
at
the
that.
2-hour mark, man, the wheels are still up. The wheels haven't come. The undercarriage hasn't come down yet.
Yeah, so, we're not even on the. We haven't even turned around to get into landing formation yet. So.
No, we're gonna close out the show pretty soon if that's what you mean, all right? All right. This is funny.
Race crashing it into the carrier.
Extinguish your cigarettes.
Yeah.
He's trying to light it like a Top Gun Nintendo game.
Well, I'm trying to give you some promotional stuff here, Tony. So, listen. Tony, you want to speak about this a little bit?
Yeah.
This one here has cost $10,000 so far. My insurance only pays 70%, so there's $3,000, and I still got to get my permanent leg. In the middle of December, I had my leg amputated. Luckily, I had insurance that paid for all the medical bills so far, but it only pays for 70% of my prosthetic leg. And I'm doing a GoFundMe for it.
Yeah, so Tony has done a GoFundMe page, and I'm putting the link in here right now in the chat in a couple of places. So go find the link in the chat. If you can't donate anything, please share the link around on your socials. Get the word out there for a good and respected gooner that Tony is, and we want him to be performing like Pepe is, week in, week out, with
I'm
two
still
legs.
even with one leg.
Can I just
Yeah.
say something, please, if I may? Look, I know Tony's a little bit shy about this, doing the GoFundMe and all of that, right? And I don't know if a lot of people that are watching realise, right? But personally, for me, and I've got to say this, right? And I was saying this to my missus the other night, Tony. I'm like, I mean, I've known you since we've been doing these podcasts and stuff, and socially online, right? And then out of the blue, I mean, you're a fully grown man, and out of the blue, you've had to lose a leg. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, this is a game changer for anybody. In the mid prime of their life, all of a sudden they lose an appendage. But I've got to tell you something, Tony. The way that your personality has been during and since, it was like if you never said anything to anybody, they wouldn't have known. Yeah, and I'd say, and I'm not just saying this, right? The way that you've handled what you've been through, personally, I found it quite inspirational. And I'm the sort of person that can have a bad day at work. I think the world's ending. I have a bad day at work, or one of my residents I'm looking after is giving me the runaround, and I'm like, the whole world is a shit place. But what you've gone through and what you are continually to go through, and the way that you still are, you're still the same Tony. As far as as far as I can see, you're not changed in any way.
Still miserable. He's still miserable, Stan.
Yeah, he's always been a miserable git. So no, seriously, and I'm just not saying it, Tony. I found it quite inspirational, and it's sometimes when I might be going through a bit of a bad time and I think that everything's fucking coming in on me. I'll actually think of you and what you've gone through, and then I realise that I'm actually being quite pathetic about it. So, I hope that people do. Help Tony out. Do you know what I mean? And help him cover, because these things ain't fucking cheap, mate. These stuff ain't cheap. And if we can help out a fellow gooner for this good cause, I think it's worth it. Whether it's a $5, a $10, or 50 or whatever.
This cost $10,000. This is $10,000.
That's crazy.
I mean, the guy has lost his leg, right? And a week later, he's making jokes about having more legs than Pepe. I mean, I would have still been in a corner somewhere, like rocking backwards and forwards. So fair play to you, Tony, and I hope you reach your target.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, and we've all tried to avoid every pun possible.
Have we?
I did at first, but then he started making fun.
I didn't get that memo.
And it was free reign.
He's been bringing the puns himself, so.
So tonight, Stan, we're trying to give him a leg up.
Good one, Ray.
Listen, he knows that at any time he can lean on me.
I am good at a 3-footed race now.
There you go. So listen, I asked Tony about this if he wanted to promo it at the beginning of the pod or the end, and here we are at the end. He wanted to do it at the end. We've got two of them actually running right now simultaneously. Tony's we just introduced. There's a lot of coin there needed for Tony's. So like I said, if you can spare the price of a coffee or whatever you can. But what's more beneficial is anyone who's watching this small podcast here, spread the word, people. If you have 10 friends, spread the word through your 10 friends and get it out there for a good old gooner like Tony. He's miserable as F, but we love him. And the other thing is, the other GoFundMe is for Alonso down there as well. His mom is paying for some COVID-related expenses, right, Alonso?
Yeah.
So I'll put the link. I'll put the link down. I'll put the link in the description as well, Alonso. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my mom needs surgery for blood flow from COVID. She's been having a hard time with that, and the doctor says she needs surgery on her blood, on her veins, so her blood can flow properly. So yeah, the GoFundMe account was for her, and hopefully you've done pretty well so far. And every little bit matters, or every little bit
Yep.
counts as well. So yeah, do what you can, and yeah. So
I'd say looking at it, you're well over halfway there, Alonso.
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely help Alonso. The best thing you can do is spread the word, and people are generous. It's amazing. Tony, we're gonna do the legwork for you. There's another pun. But no, I want to echo Tony what Stan said. Also, the courage and commitment, the courage that you've had to go through this and to take it. I don't mean these puns, but take it in stride. Take it in stride. I really don't mean these puns, but listen, it's
How many
entertaining.
puns did you write out, Rick?
I didn't write about it at all.
That's why he's
Dude,
landing
no
the
fun
plane.
these
He
days.
said they're writing his puns.
That was why I was
Ray,
so
can
distracted.
you get on with it? I've got to hop off in a minute, man.
So yeah, listen, we'll
I've
feature this.
got to kick on.
We'll, we should have just done 2 hours of this, Sam. Would have been a lot better than Arteta, right? I remember, Sam, you wanted to come on and talk about Arteta. So, hey,
Did I?
yeah.
Last time I did.
Now it is time for us to kick on and get out of here. Well, listen, keep Alonso's mom in your mind and keep Tony in your mind, and let's get it done for them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and reach out to the podcast community, hope that they can spread the word as well, with Tony's permission to do that. Let's get the word out there for you. The Arsenal community is big, and we should be able to get you some coin to at least fill your shoes.
My shoe.
You're fucking milking it now, boy, ain't you? Fucking hell.
It's what he was
Stan,
doing the whole fucking time was writing puns.
Stan, I'm pretty good at this, Stan. This is improv.
Stan,
All right.
you're landing the plane, but you're writing fucking puns left and right.
Just
Naughty
as
Boy
a
99.
send me the link afterwards. When we're done, just DM me that link for your page as well, please. All right?
Naughty Boy 99, come give my missus the boot, Tony. LOL. So thanks for being with us, Naughty Boy 99. Adam, Footballer Brownie, Stefan, everyone, Tony Turner. I don't know who you are, but oh yeah, it's you, Tony.
That's me.
Yeah.
The guy that's
And,
more two-footed than Pepe.
We've gone past 2 hours, and one of us needs to go to the bathroom. It's not me. Put up your hand. Who needs to go to the bathroom?
Gary does.
Stan needs to go. All right. You've been watching Arsenal Fan Circle. Check out the link for Tony I put in there once again.
And Alonso as well.
Share. And also Alonso's mom, right? I'll put that
Yeah,
in
send me your link as well, Alonso, because I only found out about that when Ray told me. We just said it. I didn't know about this. So please send me DM me the link as well, please.
All right, thanks, Sam. Thanks, Sam.
All right. No Arsenal game today. Hopefully the boys are rested for Sunday. We'll be back Sunday. This has been Arsenal Fan Circle. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Tony. And thank you, Alonso. We're out of here. We'll see you Sunday.
Thanks, guys.
Come on, you Gooners of the Arsenal.